Why doesn't... Or it was a picture of Superman lasering off his facial hair in the mirror with his laser vision. Like bouncing it off the mirror and getting himself. And they were like, this is how he shaves. And somebody's like, why not just use like a single blade kryptonite razor? And they were like, yeah, one nick and you're done. And like talking about shaving his nuts with that. And like... It was a whole thing.
Just a full argument. These are the arguments that comic book people have.
What are you talking about? I was at Subway.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
I was just arguing with somebody.
Oh, no way. Oh my God. No way. Oh my God.
You gotta start cutting that what's the fuck it, whatever.
Perfect. Welcome everybody to episode 125 of 1 million of the Serial Chillers podcast, and we just found out what our intro is going to be. It's perfect. You don't even have to edit anything. As always, I ask, how goes it? Hella Greg. Fucking chuckles over there.
That was way louder than I expected. I'm cool, man. I'm pretty fucking cool.
Are you now?
I feel like it. Like I said, little sore throat because I was singing in the car on the way over here.
I didn't ask you because I wanted to ask you now. What were you singing?
A lot of stuff above my register.
That's
Coheed and Cambria, Dance Gavin Dance, The Fall of Troy.
You just like specifically chose a bunch of bands. That would be difficult.
No, I was listening to Coheed and Cambria, and then like you know how Apple Music will just roll into something similar that you like. It did that, and it just apparently it thought falsetto was the way to go on the way out here.
So now you're hurting.
Shit's a little tight.
It's a fairly long drive too. So 25 minutes of falsetto.
I need some chamomile tea.
Just keep drinking that harsh ass Red Bull. You'll be fine. Okay, and we're also here with Katelin and my wife Danny. You guys have Danny has been on before. I can't remember if it was in the first 15 or not though. So. It's been like 5 years since you've been here. But, welcome, guys.
Long time.
Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah. We'll get back to you. We'll get back to you guys in a moment. But first, most of you guys know how the show works, but let me explain it for anybody that doesn't. Each week, we sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell the story of an infamous serial killer, something true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious. If something isn't clear, be sure to chime in, because if you have questions about questions, be sure to ask questions, because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions.
Questions.
Yep.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
No questions.
This is going to be loud too. Then welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. Just feels so good every time. Today's event, the Columbine Massacre. I actually teetered on this. I wasn't sure if like mass shootings was really a route I wanted to take.
I mean, it's different enough from serial killers because it's a mass murder versus a serial murder.
Also, I was like 13 when this happened, so this is like very like it was like the first like what the fuck, kids can do this moment.
Like for people of our generation, this was the first of many knockout blows for our generation.
Yeah.
And it started by what's that?
I said crazy.
It is, yeah.
That's crazy.
It was such a wild time because I remember how tightened up security got around schools and like student resource officers started cropping up more. And
the school had one that day. Okay, question number 1.
Oh, already.
Closest to the answer gets 250 points. In what year was Eric Harris born?
Oh, shit. This is closest?
Yes. All right, Danny. What'd you say?
1984?
1984.
1981.
1981.
I want to guess. 1998.
The year. Okay.
Oh no! What year was he born?
Eric Harris.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I was thinking of what year did that happen. I was like, man, those guys, they're so fucking off. Like
500 points to Katelin because she nailed it. Eric Harris was born in Wichita, Kansas in
Wichita.
1981.
I almost said 81. I
Liar.
just want to say that.
Got to go with your gut.
Our guests are on, or scores are on one screen.
Yes, on guests this time.
Got it.
Yep. Okay, so we'll go full guest intros here. Since you got the first question correct, we'll introduce you first. Welcome to the show, Katelin.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Wonderful of you to come all the way out here for us. We had a little bit of change in schedule. That happens a lot to us. Danny said, I think I can get someone. And you
Yay.
made it happen. So we
Yay.
appreciate that. Do you have anything you want to plug? Anything you got an Instagram you want to throw out there? Anything like that? No pressure?
Oh, no.
Cool. She's Caitlin. And she
Nothing,
is
yeah, just
fucking
Caitlin.
here's Caitlin. Don't find her. Don't find her.
Look her up. Ooh.
Also, don't look her up. Welcome, my wife, Danny.
Hi.
Quit talking so loud.
Stop laughing.
Actually, Danny's a photographer. If you guys have,
The best.
Oh.
yeah, at least top 3.
Like, top one.
You guys have probably already seen her work. I share it a lot. Don't worry, Danny. I talk about you and stuff when you're not there. But welcome, you guys. Thank you. I know this is new for you. I mean, you don't do this shit either. So,
Let's be serious.
welcome.
I don't like my voice.
Well, you never have to watch this. That's the great thing is I'm sort of the same. Greg edits the episodes after they air, and I go watch the intro that he did because there's always like a cold open, and I'm like, that was so good. And then I change it to something else.
See,
That's my voice.
I have to. I experience it while we record it. I experience it again while we edit, and then I experience it a third time when I proof my work after it's gone live because I don't
Ingrained in
double
your
check
brain.
myself.
Yeah.
So once it's edited, I just post it, and then I'm like, oh, let's see what I missed.
So Greg's got to live through this a couple times. I just do it the once.
But that's how you know when like stuff makes the show and it's funny. It's because I sat there and laughed at it in editing. Because if I didn't, it wouldn't make the show.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that means we're fucking hilarious to Greg.
which is perfect because that's like my target audience.
Exactly. So reference works. I will add a few of the articles that I used because I forgot to put them in here, but I did use the Wikipedia, and Brooks Brown was one of the survivors of this event. He wrote a book called No Easy Answers, The Truth of the Columbine Massacre, I think is.
That's a good name though. Not the book,
No
the
Easy
guy.
Answers?
No,
Oh,
the
Brooks
guy.
Brown?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good, solid name.
That's it sounds like he makes suits
Ooh.
or silent films.
This is my Brooks Brown suit, but it's like they're like cowboy suits. They got like the fucking like
Fringe.
dipped shoulders right here, you know, that little sew thing.
The
that, like,
triangle?
Yeah. Like all the cowboy, like why do their shoulders all come down? I don't know, but like that's how you know the dude's wearing a cowboy hat if he's got that shirt on. Anywho, Brooks Brown. He's totally not a cowboy, by the way. But and again, the Wikipedia. So for the show, guys, serialchillerspod.com for everything. I feel like it can't be your first episode listening every time. So sharing it every time is just making me go crazy. Serial Chillers Pod for everything we do. Threadless store has closed. The sticker store is on the website. Patreon to donate. We've got a donation link on serialchillerspod.com. Join the Discord if you want to hang out with us. Tons of people are joining the Discord late. I mean, tons is a relative thing compared to the amount of people we have in
Percentage
there.
wise, it's a good number.
So welcome the 6 new people in the Discord.
Fucking tripled up.
But if you guys, we say this a lot. We used to be like 600 deep. So I think at one point we had 666 in the Facebook group.
I know people kept
And-
joining and I kept denying them.
Yeah. And so now this is a much more open. You don't have to like wait for acceptance, but you do have to, there's like, you read the rules, you click the button, you have full access to the Discord until someone kicks you out.
As a moderator, I am capping it at 666.
Yeah, so we're not there yet. That's what I mean to say though. Is all those people who are on Facebook, check out Discord. It's, if you haven't already, it's like a Facebook group, but just like so much better, a lot more niche. Anyway, PO Box 1229, Clovis, California 93613. If you have anything cool you want to send us, remember if it's a danger level of 7.5 or higher, attention, hello, Greg. SerialChillersPod.com for everything. Okay. You guys ready for just... Greg, anything you want to add?
Lonelyfans.com with 2 Z's.
It exists. Get out there. Check it out. We own it. No big deal. You just need to turn it into your actual plan and see if we can just make some money that way.
Man. I'm so bashful.
Sometimes you got to put the dong out there. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Eric Harris, again, born in Wichita, Kansas. Eric David Harris, April 9th, 1981. Congratulations, 500 points on that one. Given that Harris's father was a U.S. Air Force transport pilot, the family frequently moved. That's common within military families. A lot of moving. Your brother is in the military. We've watched them move
Many times.
Big jumps, too. Not like, hey, can you go 2 towns over? Yeah. So, anyway, yes, moved around a lot. As a child, he was described as intelligent and creative, but he had some small behavioral issues that his doctors would believe would arise from what they would later diagnose as ADHD, and he was prescribed medication. So I think at 12 years old, they were like, all right.
So he was born in 1981?
Yeah.
So at 12 years old, put him in 93.
93.
So yeah, that's not like too far into the ADHD, like
Right.
knowing what that was and like how to treat it and stuff. Like that's right at the...
It's right at the time where they were like, Ritalin. So he got some Ritalin.
Right, but I was going to say it's before they like understood the treatment and
Yes.
stuff. They were just like,
Yeah.
yeah, man, drug him, dude. When zombies can't misbehave.
Yeah.
Like,
Shit.
But yes, he was around 1993 prescribed medication. It doesn't say Ritalin; it says prescribed medication, but I imagine it was probably Ritalin
or meth.
Give him the meth, yeah. So in July of 93, his father's military service ended. The family relocated from Plattsburgh, New York to Littleton, Colorado. And for the first 3 years they had resided in the Littleton region, the Harris family rented housing. So they're still like on the edge. You don't know if you're going to stay in Colorado. We're renting a house here. We've fucking been all over the place. And I think a lot of military families will still do that. Like it's like in your blood at that point. It's like, we just keep moving. There's greener pastures always, right?
That sounds exhausting.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. Okay, so during their time in Colorado, Eric was attending Ken Carroll Middle School when he first met Dylan Klebold. These two guys, total fuck faces. We can make fun of them as much as we want. We can hate them a lot. They're terrible people. There's not anything really redeemable about them. And I'll just dispel the rumor of like, oh, they were bullied so hard into it. No.
Because I remember that was like
no,
the big...
they weren't.
That was the big like narrative push was that, oh, they're bullied, so they rebelled and they acted out.
They did the whole...
I think that was just the news like grasping at straws, trying to make sense of a fucking tragedy.
Yes, and I don't disagree with that. But I think it was more like they were cliquey. They weren't in the trench coat mafia that we hear about. They weren't even in that
group. I
group.
forgot about that.
They were friends with kids who were in that group. But really what
That
it was
sucks, though.
is
That's
like...
such a cool fucking name, and those guys ruined it.
Totally ruined it.
Shitbirds.
But I just think it was like heavy high school cliques, and they were just known more to hang out with like the kind of weird kids who did like the AV club and who were, you know, like loved looking at the guns in magazines, and like they hung out with their own.
I knew kids like that.
And they weren't really cool with all the jocks, and the jocks weren't really cool with all them. And it's like, it wasn't that the jocks bullied them, it was that they were constantly at each other's.
It's like gang warfare.
Yeah, that's exactly the way that I mean, it's not, because it's high school and they're white kids in Colorado. So
it's like super soft 10-ply gang warfare.
Yeah, there we go. So to add a permanence to their residence in Colorado, the Harris family would buy a home in 1996. Also in 1996, Eric would create a website on AOL, which can... Yeah, right? Anybody? You've got mail.
Yeah.
Dog, I was listening to...
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg, please insert a 56K dial-up sound.
See what I can do. Back in my day, the internet came in the mail. Sure it did, Grandpa.
Okay, so also in 1996, he's going to create a website on AOL which contains WADS, W-A-D-S, which stands for Where's All the Data? These are essentially what we'll now know as mods. So he created them for Doom, Doom 2, and Quake. So new textures, new music. Essentially, he added things to video games that you could insert in the video game's file. So when you play the video game, you know, maybe the monsters appear as a different type of monster or a higher resolution monster. Or
who are we trying to fool?
Or,
you know, this guy made mods where it just turned all of the characters into nude women.
You're probably not that far off, and I don't know exactly, but I do know that that he was.
And for all you people out there listening who make those mods, at Hella Greg.
Oh my god.
All right. Okay. So yes, these WADs, where's all the data, are basically what we know as mods today. He creates mods for Doom, hosts them on this website beginning in 1996 when he's about 15. So he's pretty ahead of his time. For 1996, this is like most of us, if we were on the internet in 1996, we were like maybe chatting with friends
ASL.
on Instant Messenger.
Messenger.
Yeah.
AIM.
As time would go on, Eric would begin to blog on this website about what he would call, quote, rebel missions that he did with his friends. Also, they got cool names for stuff. Greg, you pointed out the Trenchcoat Mafia. I think rebel missions is a fun thing for going out and fucking off with your friends.
Yeah,
like,
if you're
going to
like-
call it something, like run our rebel missions tonight, boys.
fully
It's time to
agree.
roll out. Into 1997, these writings would get more serious and turn into plans to make explosive and things like that. So have you guys ever heard of the Anarchist
I was
Cookbook?
just gonna say, he didn't get a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook?
So this is something that the younger men that would have probably had their your brother probably most definitely has either seen or printed out a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook.
I have made stuff from the Anarchist Cookbook with your brother.
But
What?
but it was basically a guide to do and make a bunch of illegals, explosives. It was like
Napalm.
how to dupe.
That was my favorite.
Shit.
I learned a trick on how to dupe older coin machines, where you could put your dollar in, get 4 quarters, and it would spit your dollar back out, and it would work like half the time, but half the time was pretty good.
That's a pretty good return on investment.
Yes, and so the Anarchist Cookbook said a bunch of stuff like that. So Eric Harris's website started to be like, he would teach you how to make a pipe bomb. He would teach you how to make a propane bomb. Like, this is 97 when they take the more serious turn. He's explosives, a little more violent. By the end of 1997, the blogs would be a full hatred towards society and murderous fantasies.
What's his blog site?
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore.
Oh.
But so like when we say murderous fantasies, it's not like, I always thought it'd be cool to be a fiction writer. And I'm like, oh, could I write like Stephen King? And it's like, would people think I was fucking weirdo if I like wrote a very detailed murder scene?
If it's good, no.
Right, exactly. And
If it's not good, yes.
That's not what Eric was doing. He was just writing about like murdering people that exist in his life on this website, which didn't have like it's not like he had thousands of fans coming and checking out his WAD's website or whatever.
Got
It was
4
very
people
like
who show up.
Yeah, it was kind of just it was like his journal, it feels like. But once you start doing stuff like that, you start getting probably noticed a little more.
Start a podcast like an adult.
Yeah, exactly. If only back then. We may not have had this tragedy. Eric mentioned at least one student in his murderous writings, Brooks Brown by name. After hearing of this and then showing his parents, Brooks' parents would contact police, and the police would draw up an affidavit that would allow them to do a complete search of Eric's home and computer, but the warrant was never signed by a judge and effectively forgotten.
You got all this diesel fuel and fertilizer in your garage. Yeah, I got to fill up my tractor for fertilizing. You're like, you live in downtown Colorado.
How this is like one of those ones where you're like, oh, the story could just have been over here.
If everybody had done their job.
Yeah. One signature and one like, you know what? We better comb that computer. Like, maybe we don't.
Checks
we don't know
and
about
balances
Columbine.
my ass.
Like it was just forgotten.
So basically, they got busy and it wasn't a really big thing, and getting an affidavit search warrant signed by a judge isn't like, hey judge, it's me, Tom. It's a pain in the fucking ass apparently. And
What was it, Littleton, Colorado?
Littleton or Columbine, one or the other.
Shit.
So basically it just got forgotten because he didn't really break any laws because he's writing about it, and you're allowed to write about it as long as you're not directly threatening somebody. I don't know exactly, but
there was only 40,000 people in Littleton, Colorado in 1990.
Hey, maybe they just wanted to forget about it.
No, I'm just saying it's not like it's not like it was a
They
crazy
didn't
big
take it
city.
seriously.
Well, and then also maybe, after a while, the
Seen it.
Brown family was like, whatever. Like,
Nothing ever came of it. He didn't seem like a credible threat, so they didn't follow up.
could have been all that. Who knows, man?
Whiff.
Yeah. So the family was by no means wealthy, but they didn't seem to want for much and would be considered deeply rooted in their middle-class ways. It would be after the family moves here that they would begin to see smaller issues become larger ones with their son Eric. Into his later teenage years, Eric would become overly aggressive and at one point was arrested for breaking into a van and stealing some computers and computer supplies. This would happen in 1998, and it would be at a time that Eric was hanging out with good buddy Dylan Klebold. So together they broke into a van that they could, like, they looked in the windows and were like, oh, it's got computer stuff. And so they broke into it and stole from it because fucking why not? We're cool guys.
Just think about how fast the servers will be on my website now.
God, I wish they got bullied harder.
We can mod so many more games.
yeah. Oh, my mother's games.
I didn't even realize it was Butthead.
Yeah, it was like I thought you were doing Butthead. But it also fits with the time, so it's perfect. I'll be a Beavis. So that was 1998. He's hanging out with Dylan when it happens. They'd be caught and have a joint trial in which they would plead
Sick.
guilty and be placed into a diversion program, which would include classes like anger management and regular meetings with the diversion officer. Diversion is like
You go this way, you go that way.
is like pre-probation. It's like probation with like a little bit more to do, and that's what they got for breaking into the van. All the stuff was recovered, so I guess
You're in the
that's,
diversion program. Go put out signs that say detour.
both boys were released early from the program after their good behavior and an assumption the program had set out to do what it had intended. Eric was also known for playing his violent video games, his dark sense of humor, and a nearing obsessive fascination with weapons. Okay, question number 2.
Sorry.
Forgot we were doing that.
No, my phone's going off. Sorry.
Well, your phone is
So
going
busy,
off,
busy
Danny. Do you have
woman.
any idea
It's
what's
just buzzing.
happening?
It's not super loud. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay,
God, shut the fuck up.
Jeez.
Sorry.
Okay, in what year was Dylan Klebold born?
Oh God.
Oh, God. What was the answer from earlier?
Gold.
Is it the same? Were they born in the same year? Could it have been separate years? All right, what year did you guys say?
1980.
1982.
Ooh, opposite sides of the
It was.
Right under.
So when it does this is when we do go to Price is Right rules and give Danny 250 points. Generally, we don't do Price is Right rules unless you guys split it evenly like you just did, because the answer is 1981.
Oh.
Oh.
That was too
Yeah.
easy.
See, see,
You're trying to trick
I
us?
played with your minds. I played with your minds. Yeah, 250 points for Danny. Don't worry, plenty of time. Plenty of time, guys. Plenty of questions to go. Okay, so Dylan Bennett Klebold was a Colorado native, being born in Lakewood, Colorado on September 11th, 1981, and he would never know why that's important. Always remember. Right, September 11th, that was his birthday. Yeah, he didn't make it to the important one. Dylan would also grow up in a fairly normal, well-adjusted household. His parents were said to be pacifists who followed closely to the Lutheran tradition. I think you have to be a pretty big pacifist to be like, actually, I'm pacifist. like, yeah, some people like don't engage in violence or believe in war, but they're not like, pacifist. Hey, Tim Klebold, pacifist.
feel free to bully me.
Super passive.
I will not stand up for myself.
Yeah, I always liked Adam DeMamps when he's like, don't hit me, I'm a pacifist. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna pass a fist through your face.
I was waiting for that.
Okay, so yeah, and so pacifists who follow closely to the Lutheran tradition, including sending Dylan and his older brother Byron to confirmation classes, which, if my extremely limited research and knowledge is correct, is like continuation of a baptism. There's like classes and private time with yeah, let's move on.
No, I was laughing because you said it's a
went
continuation of a baptism, and a baptism's where they just like dunk you for
Yeah,
a
I know,
second.
but
if it's continued, they just hold you under.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm not going to explain it. You got it. In some sects, it is required, like the Lutherans, SECTS, Greg. I saw your head whip. Did he say sex? And in other sects of religions, it is optional is an optional sacrament. Lutherans do it though. They do continuation. Okay. That's all I got to say about that. Just so you know, Dylan was at least raised in a religious household with parents who considered themselves pacifists, fucking hippies, as well as Lutheran practices. It is said that the Klebold's would also take part in many Jewish traditions as a way to honor Dylan's maternal grandmother. Question number 3. Who was Dylan Klebold named after? Was it A, Dylan Thomas, the poet? B, Jesse Dylan, a director? C, Bob Dylan, a weirdo? Or D, he wasn't named after anyone? I thought that was an apt description of Bob Dylan.
I mean, I would have just
Musician,
I would have just called him harmonica player.
I like weirdo. Dylan Thomas, poet. Jesse Dylan, a director. Bob Dylan, weirdo, or not named after anyone. That last one, you never know.
Making up questions out of nowhere. Like, is he named after someone? Who knows?
Listen, here's the deal. Sometimes you just got to fill some space, buddy. You're like, shit, I don't have 14 questions, and I don't like to ask questions about murder, so...
Got 11. What am I going to do?
Yeah, there's a lot of murder in this one. All right, you guys got them? Danny, what'd you say?
B, Jesse Dylan.
Oh, you just think because my name's in it, that's going to be it? Or you just really like that name? Danny says
likes
Jesse
the
Dylan,
name.
director. Caitlin, what'd you say?
The poet. A.
Dylan Thomas, the poet. Give Katelin 250 points. Dylan was named after the poet Dylan Thomas because, again, hippies. Real quick, though. Okay, so real quick, because rabbit holes, this is how I do research. I'm like, oh, a poet, huh? I better read some poetry by this guy. So I brought a poem by Dylan Thomas.
There once was a man from Nantucket.
Yeah, again, rabbit hole. This is called Death Shall Have No Dominion. Written in 1933. And I'm going to just keep reading it like that. And death shall have no dominion. And death shall have no dominion. Dead man, naked they shall be one. With the man in the wind and the west moon. It's one of those non-rhyming poems, by the way.
Oh, God, I just thought he was terrible at poetry.
With their bones are picked clean, and their clean bones gone, they shall have stars at elbow and foot. Though they go mad, they shall be sane. Though they sink through the sea, they shall rise again. Now, I made that one. That's a false rhyme. Though lovers be lost, love shall not, and death shall have no dominion. And death shall have no dominion. Nope, not over yet. Under the windings of the sea,
There's a
the
second
lying
verse.
long shall not die windily, twisting on racks when sinews give way, strapped to a wheel, yet they shall not break. See, I did the false rhyme thing again there too. He's not good, I am. Faith in their hands shall snap in two, and the unicorn evils run them through. That was totally him. I totally.
I was going to say, how'd you do that?
Totally Dylan. Split all ends up, they shan't crack, and death shall have no dominion. And death shall have no dominion.
Third
No
verse.
more way gulls cry at their ears, or waves break loud on their seashores. Where blew a flower, may a flower no more lift its head to the blows of the rain, though they be mad and dead as nails. Heads of the characters hammer through daisies, break in the sun till the sun breaks down, and death shall have no dominion. What a piece of shit. Oh my god.
Dog, why does that
Why would you name your kid after that guy?
Why does that read like
You're
you're
committed to that.
just
though.
reading Slipknot lyrics?
I felt the hate rise up.
What was the
in me.
give me the second verse again?
Under the windings of the sea, they live. The lying long shall not die windily, twisting on racks when sinews give way, strapped to a wheel, yet they shall not break. That is
Yeah,
very
dog.
Slipknot.
That is
very
a
Corey
Slipknot
Taylor.
fucking
Right
like
now.
you put a guy in a clown mask hammering on a keg with a baseball bat, and I would thrash to that for a bit.
Yeah. So, I just I get into rabbit holes like that when I hear things like that when I'm studying. But that was one of the shorter poems and better poems.
Oh.
So I read a lot of them. I read probably like 8 or 9 because I was like, there's got to be a good one in here. Nah.
Was
And
he
then I
really
get it.
famous?
There's like somebody who like knows poetry is probably like, that was fucking beautiful. But like for me, I'm like, yo, that shit barely rhymed, dog. What the fuck? What the
Be a
fuck?
pacifist, and that's like they're reading that type of poetry.
Yeah,
Right.
and that shall have no dominion.
Billy Shakespeare's probably just
Okay.
twirling in his grave.
All 32 of them.
Was he really famous, that poet?
I mean, famous enough to have a kid named after him that wasn't his. So all throughout,
And I got that too.
all throughout elementary school, Dylan was in the CHIPS program. This was not run by Eric Estrada. This was challenging high intellectual potential students. We would have probably known it as GATE.
I was going to say we called it the
Gate
GATE
program.
program.
Yeah. Okay, so to say he was an intelligent young man wasn't a matter of opinion. It was quite a matter of fact. He was in like a gifted, intelligent child program. Very well behaved kid. He didn't even have like the small issues Eric Harris had. They didn't. There was no ADHD. There was no like small outbursts of anger. Aside from the van break-in with Eric, I can't even really drum up any major issues with Dylan until like 1999, April 20th to be specific. Now I'll be mainly speaking of them as a pair from here on out. We kind of gave you their like early lives. They're not that interesting, and that's what's interesting about it is because normally when we have a show like this, and Greg will attest to this, sometimes we'll go the first half of the show and we'll be like, and now they're an adult, so let's take a break and we'll get into that part of their life because there's so much that goes on in their tragic fucking childhood.
There are, like, the stories we hear, there are a lot of just terrible fucking childhoods.
These were like upper middle class spoiled kids who just thought the world owed them something, and
Which, in some ways, is its own tragedy.
yeah, and I'll just tell you before we get to it because it doesn't take long here.
Like, was it like 14 minutes?
The entire thing is less than an hour, but I pretty much wrote it as the minutes. Like we're gonna walk through this whole thing like with them.
This is going to be intense.
Yeah, that's exactly. So just, hang in there with me, everybody out there and everybody in here. Both of the boys were prevalent writers in their journals. Eric initially used his AOL site as a journal, but after the court appearance and diversion, he was asked to remove all the writings from the website, and he made it for Doom and Quake only. So he kept the website, but it was only for mods, or WADs, whatever you want to call them. His diversion officer was like, maybe take down that shit about murdering people on the website you got, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, all right.
Stop breaking the law, asshole.
Yeah, so both he and Dylan would move their journals and their deepest, darkest thoughts into paper and ink and keep that. And those become kind of bigger later. And I'll be honest, too, I did not do a lot of the post. There was too much. I looked at it and I was like, all right. After like the fallout from this, I wasn't even about to get into like politics and gun control and like not even.
I think what's it called when you write something and like leave it for somebody to read posthumously? When you're like a psychopath. Manifesto.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when you're like a shitbag like this guy, like these guys, it's a manifesto. But like if you're like a good person, it's memoirs.
Yeah.
God.
There. I like it. I like that. Dylan had been using his journal since early 97. So Dylan was smart. He was already just keeping it on paper. Eric was like, I need the fucking everybody on AOL to know. He had like the little site counter at the bottom. He's like,
Weird, like
16 people have seen this.
Like he's doing it for the attention.
Crazy. And when we go through the minutes with him, you'll see which one feels a little more unhinged as you move along. Spoiler, it's Eric Harris.
I was gonna say, it's exactly the one you think it's going to be.
Yeah. Eric used his journal similarly, but seemingly more maniacally. Eric's journal has many entries about his desire for having sex with women, which like if we're going to write in a journal as a teenage boy, like probably fairly normal to write about like, oh, I'd like to have sex with women. However, his fantasies included raping and torturing women as well as cannibalism. In one entry, he makes a comment that he would like a woman he could first rape and then torture and then kill and then dismember and eat. Okay, so a look at their schoolwork in hindsight would also show something was brewing. But like this is the stuff that like at the time you're like, oh, it's a creative work. It's a little dark, but you're not like these kids are going to murder people. You look at it afterwards and you're like,
That's the big difference, though.
That's
because
kinda-
all of us grew up in the time after this. Like all of our formative years were after this happened. So we all look at stuff like that now with that critical eye.
Right.
It's like
Absolutely.
it's like pre 9/11 airports. Like you could just
Yeah.
you
When we
could
did
literally
DB Cooper, they said that airports used to be like grocery stores. That was the
you
like.
could just
Yeah.
walk through and
freedom
it wasn't
of
a
it.
big deal.
Yeah.
And like it's amazing.
I'd like to head to Atlanta, please. One ticket, $39. There you go. No ID needed. See you later.
What's your
Is that
name?
your kid? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Oh God.
Okay, so the boys wrote extensively about violence and violent moments. Eric wrote a research paper called Guns in School. Then he wrote, it's exactly what you think. It's like, hey, everybody should have guns in school because then if something bad happens, we have guns in school. He also
Thanks,
wrote a poem.
Captain Foreshadow.
Yeah, he also wrote a poem from the perspective of a bullet that killed a man. Which I was also like, that probably was pretty cool. You know what I mean? But then you look,
If it's well done. If it's not well done,
it probably wasn't. It's some
fucking
shithead
weird.
17-year-old that thought the society was against him. They both had psychology papers to write. Eric chose Nazis and Dylan chose Charles Manson.
So
There are healthy curiosities.
I was
all
gonna
right?
say
Like,
if you wanted to like dive into psychology and like
those are pretty deep
they
wells.
they would both be interesting case studies. However, as a 17-year-old high school student trying to write a psychology paper, it's kind of like jumping into the middle of the ocean when you should just kind of be walking from the shore in.
Like, maybe check out some Freud. I
Yeah.
don't know. Just like ideas.
Yeah.
Ideas.
Do your grandpa.
Yeah, so to say they were well-adjusted teenagers would be nothing but a lie. Let's add another level of fuckery to the boys, as they were also part of a video production class in which they made multiple videos for school as well as themselves, most of which would never see the light of day outside the police station. A few of the videos were assignments given to the two that they took creative liberties with, one of which was an ad that they were supposed to make, which included them as part of the Trenchcoat Mafia, which was a real group at the school that was opposed to the jocks and their ways. Klebold and Harris were not a part of the group in any official capacity, but they were friends with many members, and they're playing members of it for this video too. The video is called Hitmen for Hire. They roamed the halls in trench for everybody listening in audio only. I just reached out and touched my nose. Some of the more unofficial videos they made had content very similar to that what their journals contained, such as plans, how they acquired and hid their weapons. Later, their families would learn of the existence of these tapes and have to threaten to sue Jefferson County in order to view the tapes. So, like, the police, when they were like, get the fuck out, we have to go through everything in your house, they found these tapes, but they never, like, told the family, here's all what we found. So, later, they're going to find out that these tapes exist. Question number 4. How did the families learn of the existence of these tapes? Was it A, from a local media outlet, B, a police officer who thought they should know told them, C, a friend of the boys, or D, a Time magazine article?
Damn, my guess wasn't going to be on there.
Did they find out about the tapes from local media outlets, a police officer who thought they should know, a friend of the boys, or a Time magazine article?
I got you. I know which one it is.
Do you know?
I think so.
Wait, what was C again?
Friend of the boys.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Danny says friends of the boys. Katelin says Time magazine article. Greg, what'd you think?
Time magazine article.
So most of the tapes were destroyed. Only a small portion were ever seen, and they were found out by a Time magazine article. So the parents of Klebold and Harris found out about these tapes that existed in 2003, 4 years after they were collected as evidence. Time magazine put out an article claiming like they knew the real reason
They had
for
a name. They had a name for the tapes too, right?
There was one that had a name. These were the basement tapes.
Yeah,
And then there was
that's what I was
another
thinking.
one that was an audio tape, was called the Nixon tape.
Okay.
We get to that, but most of the tapes were destroyed and only a small portion were ever seen. One of it was the boy's father's recorded out like on his flip phone. This is like 2003, so imagine cell phone technology at that time. So like that's literally the only way you can possibly see it is that bootlegged version from one of their it's impossible. Later, the families would learn the existence of these tapes and have to threaten to sue. What's that?
Low production quality.
Yeah, exactly. In 2003, another tape was released of the boys. Question number 5. In the 2003 video, what were Klebold and Harris doing? Was it A, target practice with guns, B, playing Doom 2, C, planning a bombing, or D, talking about hating society? Target practice with guns, playing Doom 2, planning a bombing, or talking about hating society. One of those is like pre-Twitch. See, they could have just made money.
I mean, that's the deal for psychopaths. They either become the greatest in the world at something, or they go off and kill a bunch of people.
Right. So they release a tape. This is like the one tape that's not basement tapes. They released it of like, here's what these guys, an idea of some of the tapes they're putting out. What'd you say, Katelin?
Target practice.
Danny?
Hating society.
Give Katelin another 250 points. Did you give her 250 for the last one before that, Greg?
What was the one before that?
Time Magazine. I don't think you did. Okay, so the tape does show the boys doing target practice in the nearby foothills only about 5 weeks before the attack. So, suffice it to say, they were likely like getting comfortable with their weapons that they were going to use for the attack. There was also one more tape dubbed the Nixon tape that Harris left on his kitchen table. It was recorded to micro cassette tape. I think we're all old enough here to remember micro cassettes. Those were the ones that went in answering machines.
They're the little ones that went in like the
Little
talk
babies.
back or the talk boy.
Talk Boy used a regular cassette.
Or no, not the talk
Oh,
boy.
like
the
a
little
voice
silver
recorder.
Yeah.
Yep, totally. And also like everybody's answering machine until they went digital.
Note to self.
Yeah. Correct. So, yes, that was the Nixon tape, which some people will also hear about when they're looking into the Columbine Massacre. This is just audio. This is him on his little recorder, and in it he says, "People will die because of me, and this day will be remembered forever." And that's it. That's like really all that's on the
Say
Nixon
it like
tape.
him though. Come on. No, he was just like, people will die because of me.
Yeah. It'll be a day to be remembered forever. Ugh. On the morning of April 20th, 1999, and like, fuck you guys, why you gotta take 420?
Bring it
the
back.
morning of April 20th, 1999, the two boys would take 2 duffel bags, which were stuffed with propane bombs that they had constructed either that morning or in the days prior. I'm warning you, it's getting real right now. They are at the school. This is the morning of April 20th. If you're listening, you can skip, but you're going to have to skip a lot. If you're
To the
in
end of
this
the
room,
show.
you're fucking in it to win it, guys. Most of us know the story. A lot of us probably don't know the minutes of it. A lot of us are about to learn the minutes. We're going to get down to it, but okay. The explosives were equipped with timers that were set to go off during the first lunch session on the day which would begin at 11:15. Here's something that is also not talked about Columbine a whole lot because it was a tragedy regardless of what took place. It was supposed to be so much worse. The explosives that they left at the school could have leveled the buildings that they were in if they had gone off as planned. Hundreds of people could have died. The firearms were to pick off people as they came out from the explosions. It just didn't end up working out that way. So there's something that, like, you know, it just, I feel like it gets swept under the rug a little bit. Is, you know, this was their plan B. Plan A was way gnarlier, and if they were better at building bombs, they would have succeeded. And it's wild. The explosives were hidden in duffel bags, which may have made them hard to spot amongst a sea of backpacks. So it's cold in April still in Colorado. Everybody hangs out in the cafeteria before school. About 488 kids are hanging out in one room right as before school starting, and they all set their backpacks against one wall. Yeah. So this is why it was easy for them to hide duffel bags with 25-pound propane tanks with timers hooked up to them. Two additional locations had bombs planted, one about 2 miles away from the school and the other about 3. It is later said that these smaller backpack bombs were likely places set to go off during the attack or just before the attack to distract law enforcement and emergency services. So they wanted this attack to be going on and then draw resources away from them. After placing the main explosives in the commons, I think I refer to it as the commons quite a bit. That's what they call the cafeteria, because that's like this common area. It's where everybody hangs out in the mornings and in the afternoons.
The cafegimatorium.
Yeah. After placing the main explosives in the commons and the distraction bombs, both boys return home, change clothes, and return to campus. Harris would park his car in the junior lot, and Klebold would park his in the senior lot, which was right next to the junior lot, but directly across from the cafeteria, which was on the first floor. Right above it was the library, and the library is where the most loss of life will take place. I don't think I got really deep into what they were wearing, but I kind of want to... The trench coats, they wore the trench coats. They wore bandoliers but they also wore like loose netting so that they could just put guns. Like they just had guns like stuffed into loose netting that was on them. They had a lot of bombs that needed to be lit. Tons of pipe bombs. I can't remember exactly the amount. I'm not even sure that I wrote it down, but they have just a shitload of pipe bombs. And they put like long matches and strikers like on their sleeves, so they didn't have to like be working. So they were like, I mean, to say that they were prepared for it is such an understatement, because if you're thinking so meticulously that you're like, oh yeah, we should put a match striker right here on the forearm.
Yeah.
So it's like not even something we have to worry about when we're throwing pipe bombs at people.
What douchebags though? Like putting extra netting so they can carry more guns. I just imagine one of them's like they're playing dress up in their dress rehearsal, and the other he's like, man, how are we gonna hold all these? And he's like, I don't know, man, maybe some fishing net.
Thing is, we'll talk about it pretty soon here too. Both of them carried 2 weapons. I think it was also like pipe bombs, and like it was just netting that they were like they stuffed
just like one big pocket they're wearing.
Yeah, kind of. You can't really see it in the one photo of them.
Yeah, I can see the photo in my head.
Yeah. One of them's face down anyway, so you wouldn't be able to. Anyway, in an account from his book, classmate Brooks Brown saw Eric Harris approaching the school with another duffel bag. Brown gave Harris shit for ditching an earlier class in which they had a test. So I could see this right now, like being in high school, like, what the fuck, you ditched earlier? Like we had that econ test, and Eric Harris just looked at him. Remember, Eric Harris wrote that he wanted to kill Brooks Brown on his website. It's got his parents involved. And so like if anybody was going to die first, right here, Brooks Brown feels like it should have been it. He gives him shit for not showing up. Eric Harris looks him in the face and said, "It doesn't matter anymore, Brooks. I like you now. Get out of here. Go home." And Brooks Brown was like, I was out smoking a cigarette, and I was thinking about ditching my next class anyway. When Eric Harris said that, I was fucking gone.
Yeah, no doubt.
According to Brown,
some of you guys are cool. Wear red on Friday or don't come in.
Yeah. According to Brown, he was already considering ditching his next class, and this pushed him over the edge, in which he began walking towards home. At this time, Klebold and Harris have met up once again and begin to arm themselves. They use bandoliers and webbing under trench coats to hold several weapons. They also carry additional duffel bags with many more explosives and firearms. One of the other explosive types they used was something called crickets. I didn't really understand how it worked, and I didn't look into it. If you want to look at like cricket explosive,
yeah,
it
sure,
seemed
we'll
like
put
a
my name
small,
on another
like
list.
More like a shock explosive than a like one that does damage. But they had a lot of those. They had a lot of pipe bombs. They had their time propane bombs, and they had
explosive devices known as cricket bombs contain shrapnel that is thrown when the explosive goes off, so people could be seriously injured.
Okay, so they're pretty fucking serious. See, that's what a pipe bomb is. Pipe bombs.
Well, it's
not the explosion; it's the shrapnel that comes from it. That's the issue. Okay.
Ooh, wow, and you may also be interested in shows nitroglycerin, tannerite, and seafood.
No, don't click any links. So they're both like duffel bag, weapon, a weapon stuck into some webbing. You know, they're.
The guys in the video games make this look way easier.
Here's the thing, too. It's a question, but it also shows their shitheadedness. The two had also made custom T-shirts for the occasion. Each T-shirt had a saying or word written on it. Here are 6 options. Only 2 are true. 250 points each. Question number 6. What were the phrases or words on the shirts of the young shitheads? A. Natural selection. B. Fury. C. wrath, D, war, E, death, or F, killing machine. 2 of those are correct. Natural selection, fury, wrath, war, death, and killing machine.
I want to answer too.
Please do.
Can you say it one more time?
Of course. Natural selection, fury, wrath, war, death, or killing machine.
Am I right?
I saw you. I didn't really get what you were doing until too late. Danny, what'd you say?
War and natural selection.
Same.
Whoa.
Did you?
War and death.
War
I
and
was gonna
death.
put death, but yeah, war.
Neither of them wore a shirt that said war.
Boo.
Sorry, guys. Neither of them wore a shirt that said death.
Boo. These guys are fucking nerds. How'd they miss the 4 horsemen of the
Dylan
apocalypse thing?
Klebold did wear a shirt that said natural selection. 250 points for each of them.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, you do. About now,
What was the other one?
Yeah.
wrath.
Wrath,
Sorry,
wrath.
wrath. Yeah. I figured I'd just leave you guys in the dark because you didn't get it. About now, the cafeteria bombs should have detonated.
Hold on, let me get these
For sure.
on here.
So they're like looking at the clock. It's 11:15. The cafeteria's filling up, and these bombs should have fucking gone off. What? 2 shithead dumb idiots with AOL websites didn't make a fucking good
Correct.
They
time
couldn't make reliable
bomb?
explosives.
Right. No way, Jose.
Fucking fools.
So, about now, the cafeteria bombs should have detonated, but they did not. The original plan is now no longer the main goal. This is something that, again, I wrote it in here, but we talked about it a little bit, is like it gets lost, is that this was supposed to be a terrorist attack before anybody knew what the term was. Because, I guess Atlanta 96 was probably, that was a few years before this, but that was probably my introduction to like, whoa.
Oklahoma City bombing and
When was that? Is that 96 as well? I want to say that was also 96, actually. Either way, yeah, this is like a very early idea.
95, April 19th, 95.
Oh, shit, almost on the anniversary. Anyway, it's supposed to be a very large explosion. They said in one article they had an explosives expert that said inside the cafeteria that morning, the explosives left were so powerful that it is believed it could have killed or injured every one of the 488 students inside without the structural damage. Some of the experts believe that they may have had enough power to do enough structural damage to collapse the library onto the cafeteria. So the building above onto the building below. So if the bombs didn't kill everybody inside, the structural damage that likely would have taken place from the bombs would have collapsed an entire building onto another one, probably killing anybody that survived the initial blast. That's how much explosives they left in the cafeteria amongst the sea of backpacks that morning.
And those didn't go off.
No, neither did either of their cars, which carried the exact same amount of explosives that they left in the parking lots. Both of them had 25 pounds of propane bombs on both of their vehicles.
That's such a common thing for shooters too.
What's that?
Like booby trap the car.
Yeah.
The Vegas shooter had a bunch of explosives in his car. So I wonder why.
Cowards.
I mean, but
Yeah,
like what?
cowards.
You're obviously not going back to your car.
Yeah, cowards. I need to take one more out on the way. Cowards. But anybody want to challenge that? Come at me, you stupid bitch. Realizing the explosive had not gone off as planned, the boys approached the west entrance of the school and tossed a pipe bomb. It did not detonate either, but did give off a lot of smoke. It did not go off as planned, but did get off a lot of smoke. So essentially, they threw like a party favor out, throwing up a whole bunch of smoke.
Like those purple ones that photographers use.
Yeah. Basically. At this point, Harrison Klebold... Oh, sorry. No. It did not detonate. It actually, instead of sending students running, attracted students in the direction, thinking that it was some type of senior prank taking place.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Leave it to high school kids when something's on fire
so
to
horrible.
gather around just in case it explodes.
That's exactly what happened. Some students gathered around, and at this point, Harrison Klebold thought better now than never and pulled weapons from beneath their trench coats and began to fire. Really quickly. Their weapons included Eric Harris was carrying a 9mm Hi-Point 995 carbine with 13 10-round magazines.
Jesus.
He also carried a Springfield 67H pump action shot. It's pretty standard. Pump action probably carried 3 rounds, unless it was extended for non-hunting, which it would have carried 10 or so. And they had extra ammunition for that. Klebold carried a 9mm Tech 9 pistol.
That's fucking...
with a magazine sizes of 52, 32, and 28.
Fuck me.
Yes. Also, Klebold carried a Stevens 311D double-barrel shotgun, which he sawed off to 23 inches. So if nothing else here, committed a federal firearms crime before any of this even started. The carbine, 9mm is not an incredibly powerful round, but the rifling and length of the rifle makes this one of the more accurate 9mm weapons that you can use. From what I understand, listen, I'm not a weapons
9mm
expert,
doesn't have a lot of stopping power.
but it goes a long way.
But I was gonna say, but if you're close range with a long range weapon, that's just gonna fucking hurt.
And it's out of a rifle. And then both boys carried shotguns, which I don't think I need to explain to anybody here the damage shotguns can do. The skill that it does not take to shoot at something, it spreads. That's the whole idea, is that you're like, yeah, you just like point it in the general direction.
You don't have to be accurate.
And it'll do some dying. Neither boy was old enough to buy a gun. Question number 7. If they were too young to get them, was it A, they were their parents' guns, B, they stole the guns, C, they used fake IDs, or D, they had older friends buy them? They were their parents' guns, they stole the guns, they used fake IDs, or they had older friends buy them.
I really, really, really want it to be A. Because I like the idea of Mr. Klebold or Mr. Harris owning a Tech 9.
Oh yeah, that I said parents. So.
Same.
In both cases, the boys had someone older buy them the guns
Technically,
using the gun show loophole.
Yeah, gun show loophole.
You can go with someone that's older.
No, the gun show loophole. So in a state where normally, so California, you got to wait 10 days to get a gun. You buy a gun.
Handgun.
What's that?
Handgun.
All guns. I used to sell.
There's a different waiting period for them now.
Oh, I think handguns are longer then, right? Okay, so handguns are longer. So shotguns and rifles are 10 days still, I believe. You go, you buy it. The company you buy it from, say Big Five. I work for Big Five. There's like a safe in the back. You put it in there, it stays in there for 10 days. You come back and get it. If you pass the background test, you may leave with that gun. Cool down period. That's what it is. The gun show loophole.
Oh, but I'm angry now.
The gun show loophole. Gun shows generally don't sit around for 10 days. So if you buy it from a gun show, it can lack a certain part, which is very easy to get separately and include, and you can take it that day. So if it lacks this one, whatever it is, a firing pin, and generally that's not it. It's a much easier part to include, but it is... someone's going to probably message us and be like, that's fucking wrong! But this is from what I understand.
Gun shows make it so you can get your gun the same day.
Or at the very least,
by the
much
end
faster.
of the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. By Sunday or whatever. So they had older friends go buy them at gun shows for them. And one friend was Robin Anderson, who was of age, and she was a friend of the boys. And they told her that they just wanted them for target shooting. Like, dude, our parents won't let us have them. You're our homie. You're old enough. You know us. We're good kids. Like, we just want to fucking shoot up in the hills. They lived in Colorado. You know, it's...
Yeah, sure thing. So how's your blog going?
Yeah. She was not prosecuted. She admitted what she had done. Was not prosecuted.
At all?
At all.
Ooh.
The Tech 9 was...
That doesn't sit well.
The Tech 9 was purchased from a deal made through a coworker at question number 8. Where did the boys work? Was it A, a video store, B, a pizza place, C, a shoe store, or D, a burger place? Video, pizza, shoes, burgers.
Well, it just...
What's with all the buttheads? Yeah, Greg, what's with all the buttheads?
Whoa.
Pizza.
Video.
I think video, too.
Give Danny 250 points because the boys worked at Blackjack Pizza. Klebold and Harris had part-time jobs. The man that they purchased the gun from was named Mark Maines, and the man that connected them was Philip Duran, who worked with them at Blackjack Pizza.
Sick dude, my main man, Mark Maine.
to my main man, Mark Main. Both Duran and Maines appeared in the 2003 footage release of the boys doing target practice. So they're also in the video of them shooting.
Well, I mean, that probably lends credence to the fact that they said, hey, we just want to target shoot. And
Yeah.
they were like, all right, cool. We even went target shooting with them.
Yeah, except for that, both Duran and Maines Duran and Maines would be charged with supplying a gun to a minor. They didn't play ball. I think Robin Anderson was like, yeah, I bought the fucking gun. Here's exactly what I did. Here's exactly when I did it. Here's exactly why I did it. And I think
I fucked up so bad, and I am so sorry.
I think Maines and Duran were like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, well, look, we have all this evidence right here. You bought this gun. These are the guns you. I don't know. I don't know this for sure. I do know that they were charged. Robin Anderson was not. They weren't like slapped on the wrist either. One of them would serve a 6-year sentence. The other one would serve a 4.5-year sentence. So they did a good amount of time for supplying a gun to a minor, as they should have.
Right.
That's why the law exists.
No, I get it. I just, that seems like, I don't know.
It's a lot, buddy. It's a lot.
Seems like some people much smarter than me had a lot to do with that.
We're going to get back to we're done with the weapons now and how they acquired them and how illegal it was. Let's take a little break here. Let's take a breather. Going to need it because it just gets heavier from here. We'll take a break, get some fresh air, and come back or we'll kill you. Welcome back, everybody. If you're here, that's great. That means we don't have to kill you. If you're not, you have no idea, but we're coming. And not in the gross way either.
Oh, I was just going to say, gross.
I know you were. I know. That's why I said what I said. Just staying ahead of the curve, Greg. I know. See, I gave you something else. Okay. So as we know, they threw a pipe bomb that did not detonate, like their propane bombs that did not detonate.
And their car bombs and their backup bombs.
Yeah. You said nothing detonated. They're not very good at it. They're good at destruction and death, just not in the grandest scale as
Just
they
not
thought.
good at explosives.
Yeah. So 2 students were shot to start the massacre. Rachel Scott and Richard Castaldo would be the unlucky 2. Rachel was shot 4 times by Harris. 1 was to the left temple, and it killed her instantly. Richard was shot a total of 8 times by both boys. He would obviously go down, but would eventually pull through and survive. Although he would be paralyzed from the chest down.
Still, what a fucking stud.
So these were the 2 students that there were several, but these were 2 that gathered around the smoking pipe bomb. They pulled weapons. Someone saw the weapons and yelled like, "Go, go!" But these were 2 students that didn't. They didn't get out
the
fast
memo.
enough. Yeah, I mean they may have, but they were the 2 that.
That's-
I mean, you don't run faster than bullets. Sorry, it's.
Maybe you don't.
Yeah. So Klebold, and from what I understand, this is a classic Tech 9 problem, got a jam in his Tech 9 after firing the gun only 2 times, and was only able to use it again after reloading a new magazine to clear it. During this time, Harris fires into a stairwell where 3 students are walking up. One of the students later claims that they thought that they were paintball guns. Harris fires 10 times at the 3 boys, killing Daniel Rohrbaugh and injuring Sean Graves and Lance Kirkland. 10 times is the entire magazine. He empties the magazine in his 9mm rifle at 3 boys coming up the stairs. Pop, 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 pop. That's 10.
God damn, that was 10?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Felt like so many.
Yes.
Did.
So 1 boy instantly killed. The other 2 boys are hit and injured. 10 and 3. Yeah. At this time, a teacher at the school recognized the gunfire and began to warn students in the cafeteria. Harris would then turn and fire 7 shots towards a grassy area containing 5 students, striking 2 of them. One of them, which was Michael Johnson, who was shot in the face, leg, and arm, but ran to safety with the 3 other students who escaped unscathed. One student, Mark Taylor, was shot in the chest, arms, and legs and fell down and faked death to get away. Klebold began walking down the stairs towards the people shot by Harris moments ago. So these are the 3 boys that got shot down the stairs. Klebold is now going down the stairs over them. He would shoot the body of Dan, who is already dead, and continue on to Lance Kirkland, who was calling out for help and said something along the lines of, "I'll help you," and shot him in the jaw with the shotgun.
Jesus.
Though, through all of this, being shot by both Harris and Klebold, one at close range in the face, Kirkland would survive.
Fuck.
Graves, who had also been shot in the initial attack on the stairs, was paralyzed from the waist down and had began dragging himself towards the cafeteria because he knew there were people in there. When he heard one of the boys coming, he pretended to be dead as well. It was Dylan Klebold who stepped over Graves to look into the cafeteria where the explosives had not yet gone off. Graves was like halfway in the door, and he like laid there like he was dead, but he was trying to get in. And think like cafeteria foyer, there's like a 6-foot area between the first door and the next door where you're like really in the cafeteria. So Graves later remembers Klebold saying saying something to what he believed was Graves' corpse. So Graves is laying there pretending to be dead, and Klebold says something to him. Question number 9. What did Klebold say to Graves, who he believed was dead? Is it A, serves you right, B, told you not to fuck with me, C, I'm sorry, dude, or D, I didn't mean for it to be you?
Ooh, those last two really suck.
2 pretty evil, 2 not as evil, but serves you right, told you not to fuck with me, I'm sorry, dude, or I didn't mean for it to be you. All right, what'd you say, Katelin?
Didn't mean for it to be you.
I told you not to fuck with me.
Hardcore, bro. Dylan Klebold stepped over his body and said, I'm sorry, dude. So we're not trying to give any passes or anything, but like I think that there are certain people that each of them wanted to kill on this day, and I don't think that this is one that Dylan Klebold had planned on.
Yeah, but when you start a fucking shitstorm, you don't get to control where the shit goes.
Again, I'm not siding or sympathizing at all,
Yeah.
but he I think in his head, he's like, fuck, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't want this.
Like,
But
yeah,
it
but
was.
his own selfishness led to it. What
Yeah.
a fucking asshole, man.
So he steps over Graves' body, tells him he's sorry, and Klebold did see some students in the cafeteria, but did not open fire on them. Harris remained at the top of the stairs and continued shooting, severely wounding and paralyzing Anne-Marie Hochhalter. At this point, the two get back together and head towards the school's west entrance once again. So give you guys like a little bit of a visual breakdown here. The library is on the second floor. The cafeteria is on the first floor. But you kind of go down to the first floor of the cafeteria, and the library is like a little bit up.
it's it's like half underground, like that.
Yeah. The like main floor you're coming in on is like it's like half a story up to the library.
Like maybe
half a
the
story
original
down to the
library was
cafeteria.
built up a flight of stairs, and instead they decided to build a cafeteria.
So think they're shooting down at the people down like half a flight of stairs at the cafeteria. So now they've met at their back at the top of that, heading towards an entrance to the school. They're going. It's Colorado. This is an indoor school. Everything's enclosed. On the way, so they severely wound and paralyze Anne-Marie Hochhalter. At this point, the two get back together and head towards the school's west entrance once again. On the way, throwing several pipe bombs, only some of which would detonate. And some witnesses claim the two were exclaiming to each other, saying like, yes, this is exactly what we fucking wanted. Like, that's what they're doing as they're going down the hall, like pumping each other up, like slapping each other on the back. Like, fuck yeah, this is exactly it. Yeah, I don't know. So Patty Nielsen was an art teacher and was going outside with the student Brian Anderson to tell the students to stop the commotion, not realizing that it was an active shooter situation. She thought same shit, like someone's lighting off fireworks out here fucking around. So she's trying to conduct class, was going to hey, fucking cut it out. So they open this door, and immediately Klebold and Harris fire on them, break the glass around them. Shrapnel goes into the face of Nielsen, the teacher, and the student that she's with. Anderson, the student, would crawl into the magazine room, which is, I mean, it's tough to describe. It's another small foyer area in like a...
I picture like the...
You've seen it at a school. Like, it's exactly what you think. There's probably literally like pamphlets and magazines on a rack.
I picture
and,
like the airlock to Denny's, but like with magazine racks in it.
That, and at a school. Yes,
Yeah.
You're exactly right. So Anderson would crawl into the magazine room. Nielsen would run off to the library and call 911. It has now only been 3 minutes since the shooting has begun.
Jesus.
That's the whole thing about this.
What an
like,
awful fucking 3
everything
minutes.
that I've just said since the first shot was taken. It has been
Since they hucked the...
they hucked the initial pipe bomb and the first shot was taken, because that's when like things kind of set off. Not at the pipe bomb, but 45 seconds later or whatever.
Okay.
When Rachel Scott is shot 4 times. From that moment to this moment, it has been 3 minutes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And there's been like, what, 6, 7 deaths already?
Three deaths, but there are like 7 people injured.
Okay.
2 people are paralyzed, one from the chest down.
Right.
That is when the on-campus police officer, the liaison officer, Greg talked about that a little bit before, is called to the parking lot by a custodian saying that they had a student down. The officer arrived assuming it was a student that had been struck by a vehicle. So the police liaison officer isn't always directly on campus. Sometimes they're right outside, in classic spots where students ditch, where
Cruising
the smokers
the neighborhoods looking for fucking truant.
He didn't hear the gunfire. He hears we got a student down and they're in the parking lot, and he thought that a kid had been struck by a vehicle. So he hauls ass over there. The officer arrived assuming the student had been struck by a vehicle, and when he pulled up, someone else yelled on the radio that there was a shooter in the school. It was also at this point that Harris took aim and emptied yet another magazine towards the officer right as he arrived. Question number 10. Harris took 10 shots, again emptying his magazine from a distance, none of which hit. How far were the shots taken at Officer Gardner in yards? Give me yards. Took 10 shots from how many yards and didn't hit the broadside of a barn?
10 yards.
50.
Give Katelin 250 points because he took 10 shots at 60 yards.
Shit.
None of which hit the mark. Officer Gardner would take 4 shots with his service pistol and also miss all 4. But it did cause Eric Harris to dive behind the building, initially making Officer Gardner believe that he had hit him. At this point, Officer Gardner would get to the police car and use his radio to call for help. And Harris and Klebold by this point have entered the school and continue throwing pipe bombs and taking shots at anyone they encounter. Klebold shot Stephanie Munson in the ankle, but she was able to leave under her own power. And at this point, Harris has fired his gun. This is the one that I was like, hey, when we get there, you'll kind of fucking know. So at this point, Eric Harris has fired his gun 47 times. Dylan Klebold has fired his 5.
One of them's going after it a little hard. One of them's really getting after it. The other one's a little more.
Feels like his heart's not in it all the way.
Yeah,
Yet.
Oh, there's an uptick.
There's an uptick.
Wouldn't be serial killers if there wasn't an uptick.
The two would continue until reaching the east entrance, where they would shoot out all the windows and continue shooting at any students they came across, although there were no more shot at this time. With the initial female down call, 2 nearby motorcycle patrolmen also made their way to campus, understanding it more as a shooting situation than the police liaison officer did. They were so nearby that they didn't even take the roads around. They just hopped on an athletic field and started riding their motorcycles across. But then they also noticed 4 patrol cars coming in, realized how serious it was, jumped off their motorcycles and jumped into patrol cars for safety.
Smart, yeah.
Pulling up that way. So at this point, we have 6 deputies rolling up, plus the liaison officer who's on the campus, and we're
6.5 deputies.
So we're 4 minutes into this ordeal, and this is where we're at right now. So the deputies begin evacuating injured and uninjured students when another firefight broke out between Gardner and Harris, in which all shots were again missed. So they're at the opposite side of school, but they're up on a hill. They're evacuating kids away. And they can see Gardner over here, and they can see Harris over here. So Gardner and Harris are shooting at each other from parking lot to cafeteria area, and the deputies are up here. So one of the deputies also takes some shots at Harris from 80 yards out with a service pistol, though.
Aim
high.
high.
It's going to have to be the luckiest shot of all time.
Aim
but
high.
Another deputy with an angle also took 3 shots at Harris. So another 7 shots were fired at Harris. All of them missed. Harris retreated into the building once more, and inside the cafeteria, a teacher and 2 custodians had gotten all the students out and up to the 2nd floor. So they're out of the hole in the ground, essentially, right? The teacher, Dave Sanders, and another student began to lock up the school as best they could and warn whoever they could when they turned a corner where Harris and Klebold were standing.
Oof.
Yeah.
They locked him in then.
They waited no time to just turn around and take off running. But again, if you're a good shot, bullets aren't something that you generally outrun. Shots were taken and the student was able to escape, but Dave Sanders was shot in the back and neck as he turned to run. The shot that hit him in the neck would exit through his mouth and shatter nearly every one of his teeth.
I hate that so much.
Yeah, that's why I threw it in there, because just to let you know how fucking brutal it was.
Yeah, like gunshots are never like a quick and like clean thing.
Well, that's what why it's wild is like if you don't die, like we've talked about like 3 kids who didn't die yet who were paralyzed after that. Like the damage, it's not like, oh, good thing I didn't die. I'm now a gunshot survivor. It's like
not everybody's 50 Cent.
The chronic pain you probably deal with if you don't get paralyzed. You know, the things that you just,
there's layers, but like that's so fucking wild, dude.
So we talked about the uptick.
Yeah.
Sanders has been hit. Klebold walked over to the fallen teacher, lit a pipe bomb, and just threw it on top of him.
Didn't like that teacher.
Sanders would then crawl towards a science class where a teacher drug him in, and the teacher had 30 students inside. So the teacher drags this like explosive riddled bullet
like,
shot, mouth shot out, still alive, drags him into a class with 30 students. However,
with the pipe bomb still on him, like
no, it's exploded.
Okay.
They're all short fuse pipe bombs. They light them, they're popping off in 10 seconds or whatever.
Okay.
This actually would turn out to be huge that these students were inside, because a few of the students are familiar with first aid and would stay to take care of a fading Sanders, attempting to stop the blood loss. Students were like taking their shirts off. There was one student who was like really good. He was like taking EMS classes, who they risked like sending one student over to go get him and bringing him back to help the teacher. They just kept Sanders talking. They were trying to stem the blood loss. They took his wallet and were like pulling pictures out and just like having him keep talking. While shooting continues and pipe bombs continue to explode, Patty Nielsen, the teacher who had been hit by some shrapnel, has made it back to the library, where she has urged all students to hide under desks, as well as contacting 911, who said that her call came in just after 11:25, 6 minutes after the attacks began.
Fuck, what a busy 6 minutes.
Wow.
Right, no, I know. This feels
That's what I'm
like
saying, man.
this has been the longest 6 minutes. It's fucking unreal.
Wild.
So, at 11:29, the two entered the library, which had no shortage of people. 2 teachers, 2 librarians, and 52 students. Harris yells as he kicks open the door, "Get up!" upon entering the library, so loud that you could hear it on Nielsen's 911 call. So this is something that, like, I believe is public now. You can hear this 911 call of him screaming as he enters the room. Nobody gets up. Why would you?
One guy in the back. Oh, all right. Oh, we're not getting up.
Yeah, and so Eric Harris says, "Fine, I'll start shooting anyway." And he fires towards someone who was hiding behind a pillar. That student was Evan Todd, who wood splintered all into his face and his lower back. I guess it's a shotgun, so it hit in different spots, but the pillar he was standing behind fucked him up with some shrapnel. He crawls behind like a copier and just kind of hides for the rest of the situation.
Smart.
The first person they encountered when they continued into the library was a wheelchair disabled student named Kyle Velasquez.
No.
Klebold shot at Kyle twice, fatally striking him in the head and neck. The two then placed their duffel bags on the south row of computers and reload as before, heading down the aisles in search for more students.
So
I graduated high school 6 years after this. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I was fully entrenched in high school 1 year later. Like, Columbine happened. I started high school in the year 2000. It wasn't something like I really thought about at the time, but it's kind of fucking crazy to think about. Yeah. Okay, so set their duffel bags down at the far. Essentially, like, we got the whole library in front of us. They reload. They've got like a base of operations within the library. They were calling out for anyone that was wearing a white hat that they were dead. It was a tradition that all student athletes at the school would wear white hats. Many began to try to hide their white hats at that point. Probably a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
Klebold and Harris then see that police are beginning to arrive, and so begin to shoot at them through the window in the direction police were arriving from. Police return fire, at which point the boys retreat, and no one was hit or injured. Essentially, if they get close to the window, they can see the cops can see them, they take a few shots, they fucking get back, and that happens a few times before they're like, well, what? We're not going to hit them. They're not going to hit us.
Quit firing into a building full of children.
Right. Klebold then fired his shotgun into a desk, injuring 3 students. Harris, at this time, was walking through a row of computer desks and fired a single shot under a desk, killing Steven Kernow with a shot to the neck. Harris would then turn and shoot Casey Ruzegger with a bullet that passed through her shoulder and grazed a major artery in her neck. Oof. She started gasping, and Harris said it was said to have yelled at her, "Quit your bitching." Harris then walks to another desk and shoots a girl named Cassie Bernal in the head with his shotgun.
Dude, fuck this kid and his stupid one-liners.
Question 11. Wow. Harris yelled something as he popped into the desk before shooting one of these 2 girls. What was it? And I hated to even put this in here, but it's just he's such a fucking asshole. Was it "surprise, motherfucker," "peekaboo," "hello there," or "remember me"? So he pops under, he says one of these one-liners. Greg was just saying he hates his fucking one-liners.
I fucking hate him, dude.
Here's another one. Does he say, "Surprise, motherfucker," "peekaboo," "hello there," or "remember me," as right before he shoots one of them?
Some fries, motherfucker.
Peekaboo.
Remember me.
Remember me.
Give Danny 250 points because he did indeed go childish.
That is
Pop his head under the desk, say, "Peekaboo," put a shotgun directly to the face of a teenager, and shoot her in the head. He also thought that he was a badass at this time because when he did that to Cassie Bernal, he did one of these, and he shot her, and the gun came up and it hit him right in the face. So
that hurt so bad.
Yes, and it hit him in the nose. It split his nose. He was bleeding. He turns to Klebold. I fucking hit myself in the nose. And Klebold laughs at him why'd you do that, you stupid idiot?
Good. Fuck him.
Of the 3 students injured under the desk from the shot that Harris took, remember we said he just randomly shoots and injured 3 students? One of them is trying to help the other one, and Harris would see his head pop up from behind the desk while attempting to help him. So Klebold saw this and shot him 2 more times, both in the head. The boy was Patrick Ireland, and he would survive the attack.
Jesus, dude.
After shooting Cassie Bernal, Harris turned to a table where Brie Pasquale sat. She was not hiding underneath. Whether she was too scared, she did it in defiance, whatever it was, she was like, "I'm not going under the desk." So she sat in a chair at a desk while it was taking place. Brie Pasquale, Harris asked her if she wanted to die. She pleaded for her life, and Klebold told Harris to shoot her, but Harris refused, saying, "Well, we're just going to blow up the whole fucking school anyway. Why waste the ammo," kind of thing. Klebold walked down a row and found 3 students, one of which was black. He yelled to Harris that he had found a racially insensitive word we can all probably guess without having to go too far into it, and attempted to pull him out from under the table. When he was not able to do so, he shot him 1 time in the chest, quickly killing him. The boy's name, I know I put it in here, Isaiah Scholes. They also said some other really racially insensitive stuff after they killed him. But just know that these are the kind of
guys.
Yeah.
Not only are they assholes, they're racist.
They're
assholes.
they're just the worst kind of people. So Klebold then turned and shot another student who was sitting with Scholes. That student was Matthew Kechter, who was also killed by this shot. Klebold walked into the east area of the library, and Harris walked from the bookcase past the central area to meet Klebold. So they're kind of spreading out, picking off, meeting back, spreading out, picking off, meeting back. The latter shot at a display case next to the door, then turned and shot towards the closest table, hitting and injuring 17-year-old Mark Kington in the head and shoulder. He then turned towards the table to his left and fired, injuring an 18-year-old Lisa Kreutz, Lauren Townsend, and Valine Schnur with the same shotgun blast. That's the thing about a shotgun too, right? It's
widespread.
You might get 5 people in one shot if they're standing in the right in the right spot.
So how far into this are we now?
I mean, at this point, we're so between when I said it's 6 minutes and then going into the library, there's a 4-minute lull where we don't really know what I think they could have just been pumping themselves up for 4 minutes.
I gotta take a leak. I told you to go before we started the rampage.
So we're about 10 minutes into it when they enter. So now we're somewhere 12 to 14 minutes in. It gets a little less
but
detailed, but we're still under 15 minutes.
Still rolling right along though.
Yeah. Okay, Klebold then moved towards the same table where the 3 girls were just shot with a 1 shotgun blast and fired several shots with the Tech 9, killing Townsend. At this point, the seriously injured Valine Schnurr began screaming, "Oh my God, oh my God." In response, Klebold asked Schnurr if she believed in the existence of God, and when Schnurr replied that she did, Klebold asked, "Why? God is gay." So she's like screaming, injured from being shot. "Oh my God, oh my God." And he's like, "You believe in God? Why? God is gay." Klebold reloaded, but walked away from the table. Harris approached another table where two girls were hiding. Question number 12. Why do these two girls say that they were spared? Is it A, they knew Eric Harris, B, Harris deemed them as pathetic, C, they promised they wouldn't tell anyone, or D, they just stared at Harris until they left him alone? They knew him, he deemed them as pathetic, they promised they wouldn't tell anyone, and they just stared at him and he left him alone.
I like the stared at him, just like mean mugged him until he like punked out and walked away.
I was thinking more.
His vision's based on movement.
All right,
It's like
Danny.
the Big Daddy sunglasses.
Yeah. I'm invisible. What'd you say?
Pathetic.
Pathetic.
Deemed
Same.
Pathetic.
You will both take 250 points for that. Yes. Greg, I won't talk too quickly while you add their points, but he bends down.
No, it's not that. It's that.
It's on their faces, right? Yeah, no, I get it. So they, they're under there. He bends down and he goes like, pathetic. And he just walks away from him. Harris then moved to another table where he fired twice, injuring 16-year-olds Nicole Nowlin and John Tomlin. Tomlin moved out from under the table after he had been shot, and Klebold shot him repeatedly, killing him. The shooters moved to the center of the library where they reloaded their weapons at a table. Harris then pointed his carbine under the table, but the students he was aiming at had moved out of the way. It's like fish in a barrel. Like everybody, they're just hiding under desks and they're walking. If you guys, if you watch season 1 of American Horror Story, you remember Tate's Rampage?
Yeah.
Super inspired by it. It is very, very Columbine. The way everything takes place. Very much.
I was going to ask that.
Yes,
Yeah.
very, very similar idea. And it takes place in the library.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the kid gets shot, like falls out from under the table, and Klebold, pop, 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 pop. He's got a Tech 9. He just let him have it. The shooters moved to the center of the library with a fucking 52-round magazine in it.
Jesus.
Where they loaded their weapons at the table. Harris pointed his carbine into the table, but the student moved. Harris turned his gun back on the student and told them to identify themselves. It was a boy named John Savage, an acquaintance of Klebold's. He asked Klebold what they were doing, to which Klebold shrugged and answered, just killing people.
See, man, he seems like he's really just trying to like put on a thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it seems like, you know, when people try too hard to be funny or try too hard to be like taken seriously and shit, it feels like he's trying too hard to be Steven Seagal or whoever he thinks he is.
Right.
Like he's just really steered past the whole like casual.
It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger one-liners.
But he's gone so far beyond the witty one-liner into like
He's
just
more Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's
Yeah,
just too
he's
over
just-
the top. I think Steven Seagal was probably
he's
right,
just like such a douchebag about it.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. So at this point, he asks, like, "Well, you're killing people, but are you gonna kill me?" And Klebold said no and told him to run. So Savage fled, escaping through the library's main entrance and through the cafeteria. So, I mean, of the people in there, he was the one person who was like allowed to leave under their own power. After Savage left, Harris turned and fired his carbine at the table directly north of where he had been, hitting the ear and hand of 15-year-old Daniel Mauser. Mauser retaliated by either shoving a chair at Harris or grabbing at his leg, and Harris fired again and hit Mauser in the center of the face at close range, killing him. So the kid, whatever, he gets hit and like kicks a chair at him, you know, whatever, trying to defend himself or whatever he's doing.
Yeah, I was gonna say
his one last stand.
Yeah.
And gets shot in the face and dies there immediately. Harris then moved south and fired 3 shots under another table, critically injuring 2 17-year-olds, Jennifer Doyle and Austin Eubanks. Klebold then shot once, fatally wounding 17-year-old Corey DePuter, and at 11:35, there were going to be no further victims. 11:35. It started at 11:19. So 16 minutes from the first shot fired to everybody dead.
God damn.
Everybody that they're going to kill besides.
Right.
So there are no further victims. They had killed 10 people in the library and wounded 12 at this point. Klebold was quoted as saying that he might start knifing people, though he never did. They also carried knives on them, so they had like big old hunting knives. I didn't put that in there because they ended up not using any of them.
Again, it just seems like more like cosplay shit to make themselves look and feel cool.
So this is when they head towards the library's main counter, and it is revealed that the two are also carrying Molotov cocktails. Harris threw a Molotov cocktail towards the southwestern end of the library, but it failed to explode. They couldn't even get the glass to break when he threw the Molotov. It's like you've thrown a glass and had it go ding 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 ding. That's exactly what this did.
And
I've
I've also dropped one from the bottom shelf of a refrigerator straight onto the bottom of a refrigerator and had it shatter. So I don't understand glass at all.
They converged close to where Todd had moved after being wounded. Klebold pulled the chair out from the desk and then pointed the Tech 9 at Todd, who was wearing a white hat. Klebold asked if he was a jock, to which Todd said no. Klebold responded, "Well, that's good. We don't like jocks." Klebold then demanded to see his face, and Todd partly lifted his hat so his face would be seen but remain slightly obscured. When Klebold asked Todd to give him one reason why he should not kill him, Todd said, "I don't want trouble." Klebold responded back angrily, "Trouble? You don't know what trouble is." Todd tried to correct himself and said, "That's not what I meant. I mean, I don't have a problem with you guys. I never will, and I never did." Klebold then told Harris he was going to let Todd live, but Harris could kill him if he wanted to. What's the score, by the way, right now?
1750 Katelin, 1250 Danny.
Okay, so it's anybody's game still.
How many questions are left?
Two
questions.
Danny.
Yeah.
Well, one of them
looking
could be
good.
1,000 points if you nail it. But okay,
That'd be huge for you if you did.
yeah, huge if happens. So they never used the knives.
White hat.
White hat. Yeah. Harris appeared to pay no attention, even though he was just told that he can kill this guy if he wants. But he told Klebold that they should head to the cafeteria. Klebold fired into an open library staff break room, hitting a small television. While Harris was walking away, Klebold said, "One more thing." What was the one more thing? It's question number 13. Was it A, he needed to pee? B, he picked up a chair and slammed into a desk? C, he attempted to take a girl with him? Or D, he shot a dead student several more times? He needed to pee. He did a weird slam a chair into a desk thing. He attempted to take a girl with him or shot a dead student several more times. I know, all of them seem plausible. I feel like that part of your body just shuts off if you're doing something like this.
Yeah, until the adrenaline wears off and
Yeah,
you're walking someplace and then you're like, holy shit, man, I've had to piss for the last 16 minutes.
All right. Danny, what'd you say?
Through a chair.
Through a chair.
Shot a dead student.
Shot a dead student. Give Danny 250 more points. Yeah, he did some random, picked up a chair and slammed it into a... I think it was just I just need to cause a little bit more destruction before I leave. I haven't caused enough with the 10 kids I killed.
It's like when you're...
Jeez.
No, never mind.
I just think of I think of Stuart. I think, look what I can do! And that's what he did with that chair. Give me a minute. I can see him all weak too.
It feels like when you're in a
You ever think somebody do this with the chair?
in a video game and you have to smash up a shop and you're almost done and you're running out of stuff, running out of people to fight, so you run around smashing stuff,
Yeah, there's got to be something here.
kicking pots, looking for secret treasure and shit.
So basically, Danny, if you're the closest on the next one, it is a tie, and it'll go to an artistic challenge in which Greg will give it to you guys. You guys pander to your judge, of course. If Katelin is closer, she wins. If you nail it, you win.
If either of you nail it.
Well, yeah, but if Katelin gets it, she's going to win regardless. But if you nail it, you'll take a victory. So there is one more question that's coming up. Don't worry, we'll get there. Okay. So, slammed a table, weird chair thing. He then picked up a chair beside the library counter under which Patty Nielsen was hiding, slammed the chair down on top of the counter terminal, the library counter. Some people think this is because he knew Patty Nielsen was there but didn't want to kill her. Because he, literally took the chair out from under where she was, oh fuck, and he like and like hit it on top of the counter a whole bunch like a fucking weird nerd. Klebold joined Harris at the library entrance, and the two walked out of the library. Cautiously fearing the shooter's return, 10 injured and 29 uninjured survivors began to evacuate the library through the north emergency exit door, which led to the sidewalk adjacent to the west entrance. Casey Rugseger was evacuated from the library by Craig Scott. Craig Scott is the younger brother of Rachel Scott, who was the first person killed that day. He had not been evacuated. Had she not been evacuated at this point, Rugseger would have likely bled to death from her injuries. So one of their children was killed, and the other one was a hero that day. Patrick Ireland was the one who had been shot twice in the head. He was still in the library as well, unconscious, and Lisa Kreutz was unable to move because she was paralyzed. Those were the only two living students who remained in the building. Patty Nielsen crawled into an exterior break room, the same one Dylan Klebold had shot rounds into earlier, and hid in a cupboard. Like, just stuffed herself away and was like, fucking
The
please.
Bobby.
Yeah. So they, at this point, I feel like they're in panic mode. And I've stopped kind of giving you clues of time here, too, because that's going to be important to the last question. But after leaving the library, Harris and Klebold entered the science area where they reconvened. They talked for a little bit. They caused a fire in an empty storage closet. It was extinguished pretty quickly by a teacher who was hidden in an adjacent room. Like, they started a fire and like, fuck yeah, we're going to burn this bitch down. And the teacher who like had an attached door was all,
Shut, lock.
yeah, close the door, exactly.
Come back. What the hell?
The gunmen then proceeded towards the south hallway where they shot into an empty science room. At some point, they are captured on the school security cameras as they re-enter the cafeteria. The recording shows Harris crouching against a rail in the staircase, firing towards the propane tanks left in the cafeteria in an unsuccessful attempt to detonate them one more time. So they're just fucking shooting at them. Like, come on, man. We need this to go off. We need the destruction to take place, because the death was only part of it. It was the destruction that was like really their goal, like to bring down society. They bring down the school. Killing people
Starts
one thing,
here.
but if the building still stands, it can still do school here. Klebold lit a Molotov cocktail and threw it at the propane bomb. About 5 minutes later, a gallon of fuel attached to the bomb ignited, causing a fire that was extinguished by the fire sprinklers a few minutes later. After leaving the cafeteria, they returned to the main north and south hallways of the school and fired several shots into walls and ceilings as students and teachers hid in rooms. So basically, they were like shooting through the walls where they thought people were hiding in rooms on the other side. Many of the bullets, they're 9mm, did not make it through the walls. They returned to the cafeteria and briefly entered the school kitchen. They returned into the staircase where everything started in the south hallway, and they re-entered the library, which was empty of survivors except for the unconscious Patrick Ireland and the injured Lisa Kreutz. Once inside, police were shot at again through the library windows, the one we talked about. They shot at when they were in there, and the police would return fire. Nobody was injured in the exchange, police or students. It's at this point that all gunfire in the school ceases. Okay? This is the final question. Question number 14. From start to finish. So we're talking first bullet fired to last bullet fired. How long did the Columbine Massacre take? In minutes. Just give me in minutes. Closest to the answer gets 250 points and a victory if it's Katelin, a tie if it's Danny. If one of you nails this, you're the winner outright.
Yeah, if somebody nails it, that's the ball game.
And remember, we're pretty exact in our minutes here, so this isn't rounded.
Don't need seconds, just need minutes.
Yeah, just minutes. How many minutes did it take?
What would I make the artistic challenge?
Yeah, careful. Pause. All right, you guys got answers? Danny? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
the nerves.
21 minutes.
Okay,
25.
25. Ooh, that's close.
That is close.
But give Katelin the points because from start to finish, the Columbine Massacre took 49 minutes.
Oh,
A lot happened in a little time at the very beginning, and then it kind of was like them walking around, them like trying to make things explode. Essentially, they held the school hostage without any students really remaining in the school. By 12:05 is when it stopped. By 12:08, both gunmen had killed themselves. Harris sat down with his back to a bookshelf and fired his shotgun through the roof of his mouth. Klebold went down to his knees and shot himself in the left temple with his Tech-9. SWAT was on site by 12 and entered the school at 1:09, cleaning it of students and staff alike, injured, uninjured, and unfortunately deceased. There's so much that surrounds this case. It goes beyond what we've gone over here. So much. There was a huge thing about video game violence. There was a huge thing about Marilyn Manson's music.
I remember that. That was even a line in an Eminem song.
There was a huge thing about the bullying that they received, but they also dished out. You know, it was a very mutual thing that took place. But yes, it's the reason I didn't go into a lot of it post the crimes is we got plenty of time out of it already, time enough, and it's so much. It's literally like I could do an entire another episode just on this is what happened after Columbine, and we could do a whole new thing on that. But I did want to do this because it just felt right. I'm going to list the victims one more time. Rachel Scott, 17, killed on the grass outside the west entrance by Harris. Daniel Rawbar was 15 and killed at the bottom of the stairs leading to the west entrance by Eric Harris. William David Sanders was 47. He was the teacher. He did eventually bleed out and die, even though the students tried to take care of him. Kyle Velasquez was 16. He was the one in the wheelchair. He was killed by Klebold. Stephen Kernow was 14 and killed at the west end of the south computer table. Cassie Bernal was 17. She was also killed in the library. Isaiah Scholes, Matthew Kechter, Lauren Townsend, John Tomlin, all killed in the library. Kelly Fleming, Daniel Mauser, and Corey DePuter all killed in the library as well. A few things. Several students would eventually commit suicide within 5 years.
Due to like PTSD and stuff.
That's exactly it.
Wow.
Survivor's guilt was very big. I can't remember his name. John Savage, I believe, who was like, get the fuck out of here, run, who was in the library.
Or what's his name? Booker Brown or...
I know who you're talking. Brooks Brown.
Who like...
Got the warning first. Brooks Brown also made the first 911 call, actually. I didn't put it in here, but when he left and he heard the first noises he heard, he like knocked on a front door at somebody's house and called 911.
Oh, that's right, because he was walking.
Right. And then the second call came in from the art teacher Nielsen. Yeah.
It's interesting that he's the one that wrote the book, though. But he didn't actually...
He wasn't there for it.
There.
Yeah.
So let me write the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Interesting.
I think, and if I'm not mistaken, it was co-written by somebody. I don't know if that somebody was... A lot of times it's a better writer. Like, oh, you had the experience. I'm the better writer. We'll do this. But it could have been another victim for all I know. But Brooks Brown is definitely the
big name on the
face
on the
of
jacket.
No, they're equal size. But Brooks Brown's like the dude who does interviews. Like when you look up stuff about it, I haven't seen the other guy, you know. But one thing that I do like, there are 2 memorials initially for 15 students, but only 13 students were killed, 2 committed suicide. So the father of Rachel Scott, the first one was 15 crosses put up by a carpenter in town. He put up 15 6-foot-tall crosses. They were beautiful, lit them up. Rachel Scott's father went down with a chainsaw and cut 2 down.
Good.
Said, fuck those 2. They don't deserve a memorial.
Fuck them. I was like, that's too many.
Yep. And then... about 6 months later, the city planted 15 trees in memorial. Rachel Scott's father came down with a chainsaw and cut 2 of the trees down.
This guy, man,
Oh,
he is the badass that we should all aspire to be.
That's what I put in here. Later, 15 trees were planted, and 2 of the trees suffered similar fate to by the hands of the same man. Respect.
Yeah, good for him. Good for fucking him.
So sorry to drag you guys through that, but that is Columbine. That is congratulations, Katelin, on your victory. I know you didn't really win anything here tonight, but a sad drive home. But thank you guys for being here. Is there anything you'd like to say at the end? Take a victory lap, rub it in Danny's face,
No.
whatever you want to do. There's no prize. So. Was it everything you had thought it would be?
I mean, I learned a lot. I knew about it, but I didn't know the details of it. And so just being the one, the first one, 1999, it's just...
Yeah, it's kind of
it's hard.
It's a little more commonplace these days, unfortunately, but we don't have to get into that either.
Wow.
Danny.
Well done, sir. Well done.
I like being put on the spot.
Well, hey, second place is the first loser, but I still love you.
Aw,
First of the
that?
worst.
Yes. Anything you'd like to say at the end here, Danny? Any words of wisdom? Any?
be kind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be kind to one another.
You never know. You just never know. Guys, check out everything, serialchillerspod.com, Instagram and TikTok. We're on there. We're not crazy active, but the more you're active with us, the more we're active. You know what I'm saying? If you're listening to this, you could be watching it and seeing how disappointing Greg and I look. That's on YouTube. Well, mostly Greg. Right?
I mean,
Right? No, we're handsome as fuck. Check us out. The YouTubes, the social media grams. That's where you can find us. But yes, YouTube, we're on there. If you're watching us, you can go listen to us on every podcast platform. We're there. Threadless store is on Serial Chillers Pod. You can get our soft goods there. T-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, banging. It's there. Serial Chillers Pod. Go to that stickers. You can buy stickers there. They're there. And keychains. Ooh, keychain. Discord if you want to hang out with us. If you want to send us some cool drugs or something, P.O. Box 1229, Clovis, California, 93613. Remember, the danger level is above 7.5 at or attention. Hella Greg. Serial Chillers Pod for everything. Hella Greg, anything you want to add to that?
lonelyfans.com with 2 Z's.
2 Z's, you don't say. Are there any final words?
Yeah, man. Fucking... First of all, these two guys suck so much.
Right. I text Greg last night, and I was like, dude, I fucking hate Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold so goddamn much.
Yeah.
And I did before. I hate them so much more now.
Without being like overly reductionist of the whole situation, they're spoiled, entitled kids with impulse control and anger management problems. And I mean, I'm not a fucking professional. I don't know, but that's what it feels like. They didn't have any real adversity. They didn't have any like real problems, but they felt like everybody owed them something enough to the point where they could just take their life. Mm-hmm. So, fuck them.
I second that.
I wish they would have just started with themselves and then see where it went from there.
Yeah, that's what we always say. If you feel like you're going to do a mass shooting, just kill yourself first, see how it feels.
Mm-hmm. Got to practice.
Yep. All right then. Well, for Danny, for Katelin, and for Hello Greg, I'm Cromulent Jesse. Remember, don't talk to strangers. Okay, bye.